Hi guys, so this is going to be my reading for the earth element. Now, it could be that you are an earth sign, or this is something that kind of represents your earthly energy, whether it's your stability or your body, your here and now, your day-to-day life, right? I explained it in the air element if you want to look at that one. I explained what I did. I tried to do this big old thing and it just didn't work out. So I was like, I'll just break it up into chunks. And I think that's exactly what I was meant to do. Isn't that funny how that works out? So anyway, our first card is from the Mystical Shaman Oracle. And this is number 29 with the Journey. The essence says, the journey is an invitation to step outside the boundaries of your life as you know it. The journey is not a holiday. It is a call to be hermit-like and to go on a pilgrimage into the unknown. There are no maps to the territory, and you will be exploring no marked paths or road signs. The invitation says, the time to embark on the great journey is here. Do not linger in the port when the distant shores are calling. Fearlessly draw your own navigational charts as you discover the route. When the time is right, as it is now, you will be led true even when you are not sure of where you are going. It is in the departure that is the most important. If you miss the boat, the great opportunity will be lost, and another ship may not arrive for a very long time. So I feel like in our day-to-day lives, that is the journey, right? So we'll dive into these other cards real quick, and we'll see if maybe that has something to do with it. But I feel like, and that's so crazy, like the other cards, they all kind of match, but I'm really seeing the yellows in here. So again, like the solar plexus chakra. I think that's cool. Anyway, so we're going to go to our next card, which this is kind of like the energy that you're in now. So this is the Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles, and this kind of was brought up to me last night in the shower, and I was thinking about it because Minipod Tarot always calls the Eight of Coins. He always says that like it reminds you to remind you to look back and think of how far you've come, because sometimes we don't realize it. When the Eight of Pentacles, this is somebody who is feverishly working on something and they're diving headfirst into it, and it's because they're passionate and they love it, right? This is not somebody who's doing something that they hate. This is somebody who's putting in the hard work, but they're doing it because they love it, right? So I feel like that if you resonate with it, that's who this is. And then so this is kind of like your energy. So this is kind of like where you're at right now. And, you're on this journey. And I feel like this thing that you're doing is part of the journey, right? So, my next card is, I kind of like made this kind of like the shadow. And like I said in the other one, it's not like the shadow is a bad thing. The shadow, what is a shadow? The shadow is something that is not in the light, right? And it doesn't necessarily that it's a bad thing. It's a thing that sometimes we hide or we keep inside, right? And I feel like this is something that you're passionate about that maybe you're not bringing it out. So the shadow kind of tells us what we need to do. And then the transformation is the last card, which, it's the Nine of Swords. This seems a little intense, but we'll figure it out, right? It's a Muerte Oracle, because they're not always like happy and sunshiny. Like they're not like bad ever, but it's always like something like it kind of gives you like a real world type of answer. And that's what I like about it. And so number 22 is intellect. The archetype of order seen by the sixth card can be expressed. So order is the sixth card. If you look at this guidebook, it'll tell you like, the journey of the whole thing. I should go through it one day. Can be expressed on the formation plane by human intellect. Here is the birthplace of language, the world of ideas, knowledge, and where communication takes place, which is crazy. Maybe somebody is resonating with the first reading I did on the air. But the intellect, much like the solve referred to the god Mictlantecuhtli, oh my gosh, I'm going to ruin that, can, with its cutting action, analyze, fragment, then recompose in a form of final synthesis. It directs and controls, but for this very reason, it can become an obstacle for expansion and dynamism. The advice of the dead says, put instinct aside for the moment and analyze the situation you are in rationally. This is so interesting because instinct was the previous video I did. It was that card in the shadow. So it's kind of interesting how this is all working together. So I don't know. I'm just going to keep going with it. I was like, I don't know. Now it's going to go together. And there was also, there's a 3 in there. And the last one had a lot of 3s. So maybe this is kind of like an evolution that you're going through. Whoa, I just got it like a thing. Anyway, so the Nine of Swords, that's kind of like your transformation, right? So, the journey is the earth, right? This is where we're at, and this is the lessons, and this is the things that we go through to get to where we want to be. And it's an ever-going process, right? And so then we have the Eight of Pentacles, which is kind of like, you know, the work that you're doing, and it's the work that you want to do. It's what you're meant to do, and that's why you're into it, right? But we have to kind of stop, think about where we were and how far we've come, because a lot of times I don't think we do that. And then, so with intellect being, you know, about over-analyzing or keeping things, oh, and that's very earth. That's very earth sign. Oh my goodness, that's crazy how that works out. Anyway, so it's about, you know, the day-to-day and this journey, right? Being practical about it. So that's so ironic that that would come up like that, and I think that's beautiful. And so when we go to the Nine of Swords, okay, the Nine of Swords, a lot of times people think of it like, you know, that's your fears. And somebody might be kind of like going through something like really heavy and thinking that, you know, everything is lost and, you know, something is really heavy on your mind. But you got to remember, like, if you look in the card, like, she's completely able to like get out of the situation. She's in a bed, right? Is it a she? I'm thinking of the Rider-Waite. But yeah, like, so you're in the bed and like there's all these swords, right? All these swords are kind of like, you know, stressing you out. And my thing with the Nine of Swords and the Ten of Swords is always like, these are like 9 levels of whatever this mental anguish you've been through, that you've already been through. You're almost done. You're almost at the end of it. So it's kind of like, you know, you almost have to kind of listen to that last lesson to get kind of through it, right? So that's the transformation, is taking all that energy and all that mental lessons and all the, you know, lessons in the real world, because this is our earth element, right? So and take that and let that help you transform into the next part, which would be the Ten of Swords, and that would be you being able to kind of like, you know, stab that last knife in there, stab that last sword in there, and just be like, I'm done with this. I don't want to deal with this no more. I've got it. I figured it out. The lesson is over, right? Game over. And if you think about it, that's kind of what it is. Like all these things, these day-to-day things that we think are torture and they're terrible. And, you know, all this life is trying to kill me. But these are the lessons that we're learning, right? This is the earthly realm, right? We're all doing this so that we can kind of like get that experience of being that etherealness, right? But I mean, really, the good things are here. We just got to see them, right? We have to get up out of that bed and get rid of those swords. So I hope this meant something for somebody today. And if this resonated with you, maybe look at the air sign that I did earlier. That one might have something to do with this too. I think that this is all kind of going together, and we'll see.